Dear students, our topic is After Apple Picking by Robert Frost. In my earlier one part of it we have described, and now the next part. Before we go to this next part, let me summarize the earlier one. I have already told you the apple picking means to fulfill one's desire. After that, what happened? One is approaching to the death. One is Robert Frost is mystified, and that's why he has a different meaning, deeper meaning in this poem. But I also told you that we know the images, whatever images he has used here, or in other poems. That's not difficult for us to understand because the atmosphere, the topography of that part of America is just like ours, so that's not difficult. They also cultivate apple, and we also cultivate. We use almost the same tools here, so it is not difficult for us. He has said in his that part of first part of the poem that he has been doing apple picking. He has plucking the apples. He has put a big ladder against the branches of the. He has picked most of them. He has picked, but maybe there may be one, two, or a few apples yet to be plucked on some boughs, on some big branches. And then he also describes that now the winter is approaching, and that is he feels that essence, that quality, that atmosphere, that ambience. In other words, we can say that ambience is just visible because it is late autumn or the early winter, and at that time apples are very ripen, and they emit fragrance. That's also fair. But in the same breath, he said, well, I also feel a bit sleepy because he has been exhausted by this work, and he also describes a bit about that he has taken a sheet of that ice from that trough of water and just saw through it, and he felt a bit strange. He could not rub off that strangeness, and that's all about he has talking. Now let's go to the next today's lecture, today's portion, this portion of the poem, that is now he says, well, as I am going to sleep, and now I may have the dream, and what will be in my dream, he is also predicting it. And it is predictable that whatever you are doing in your life or in your day, the same thing you will see in the day. And he is now seeing in his dream magnified apples appear and disappear, because he was doing apple picking. He was collecting and harvesting apple, and so the same will approach in his dreams. And what magnified bigger apples, big, large, huge apples will appear and disappear in my dream, stem and blossom, and all these apples will be visible there, and every fleck of rashet showing clear, and every fleck is small patch of color. Fleck means small patch of color. Rashet means a reddish brown color. As we know, as apple or ripen, their color becomes reddish brown, and as far as the autumn is concerned, all around you feel a different type of color, and that's there, and every fleck of rashet showing clear. My instinct, these are visible in my dream. This color is visible in my dream. Magnified apples are I can have in my dream, and my instep even in that time, my instep means the upper portion of your foot, that is type of an arch that aches. He feels a pain because he has been on the ladder, on the rungs of one rung of the ladder, and for some time, and that's why he feels pain. Even in his dream, he feels that pain in the instep of his foot. Not only keeps to ache. It continues to ache, means to pain. It keeps the pressure of a ladder, because this ladder round, because he has been on the rung of the ladder for quite some time, and that's why he feels the pain in his upper portion of the foot. This is the again what he sees in his dream, what he's going to see in his dream. I feel the ladder sway as the bows bend and keep hearing from the cellar bin the rumbling sound of load and load of apples coming in. I feel the ladder sway because he has kept his ladder against the branch, bigger branch of a tree, and once a person mounts or rides and just climbs that ladder, and it just bends. It just bends and now comes again back. It bends and comes back as soon as you approach to the topmost rung of the ladder. It bends and it sometimes comes back, and this is the sway. This is a type of a swing, as if it is swinging. I feel the ladder sway as the bows and bows bend, because that branch bends and then comes back. That's why. So he is just swinging. In other words, swinging between the life and death. It's as already I have told you, the ladder pointing towards heaven shows means the death. Now he is on the rung of the ladder, and that sometimes bends, sometimes comes forth. It is swinging, as if he is swinging. He is just swinging on the between life and death, and keep hearing from the. But in the meanwhile, because he is harvesting apples, because he is collecting plucking apples, and there is a small what you call the barrel on which he has put those apples. Now at the same barrel, once it gets filled, that is discharged. The contents of that barrel are discharged in a bigger bin. And that sound is approaching, because it's continuously, the rumbling sound means is very low sound of continuous sound of something. Once you discharge the apples of a container in the other one, a continuous low sound of the apples is approaching me, and that's, and hearing from the cellar bin, because now they are discharged, they are put in a bigger bin means we have a seed bin, we have a dust bin, means a type of a container. Cellar bin means a container, bigger container, meant for keeping the apple. Ultimately, after we have the barrel and we put this just discharge the contents of the apple of that barrel into the bigger bin, that's called the cellar bin. Now that sound is also approaching me. I am feeling the ache, I am feeling the pain in my instep of my foot, and I also that rumbling, hearing low sound of the apples. Those are being put forward and kept in that continuously in that cellar bin, means that bigger bin, bigger that container. The rumbling sound of load and load of apples coming in. Load and load means again and again. He is just collecting apples, picking apples, and putting in the barrel, and that the same barrel is now discharged in the cellar bin again and again. So loads and loads of the apple. That is why there is a rumbling and continuous sound of that. For I have had too much of apple picking, because he has had too much of apple picking. Means he has done a lot of work. He has a good crop. He has a good harvesting, doing harvesting, apple picking. I have had too much, and he has deserved. The farmer is always excited once he had a good crop of anything. And as for the apples, once you have a good crop of that and you are harvesting, you don't feel at that time as you do your work continuously. So I have had too much of apple picking. He had a lot of work to do, and he has done a lot of. In other words, he has been in this world, and he has so many desires, and so he worked hard to fulfill all these desires. Very, very, very much. I am overtired. That's why he is overtired. He is exhausted. I am overtired means I am very much exhausted now because of this, because of harvesting apple, because there was a good crop, and because there was a huge crop of apple, and he has been plucking all alone these apples, collecting them of the great harvest. Because I myself desired, being a farmer, he has himself desired to have a good crop. And once you, as a farmer, you as a farmer, you have a good crop, you really get excited, and you have definitely desired for it. You have longed to have a good crop, and he had this good crop. Now he is harvesting them, now he is collecting them, and he is but he has done a lot of job and lot of work, and he is now exhausted, overtired. He is very exhausted now. And there were 10,000 fruits to touch. 10,000, this has been repeated. 10,000 doesn't mean 10,000 acres. 10,000 in daffodils, Wordsworth has used 10,000. I saw 10,000 at a glance. There also doesn't, 10,000 never means 10,000, means a huge number. So he has a good crop. He has every apple. One more thing, 10,000 fruits to touch. Every apple has to be touched. Every single apple, one who picks the apple, he has to touch every single apple, whether they are in millions in number, thousands in number. Every apple has, because you can't just hit the branch or boughs and hit them. No, you have to be very careful, because the fresh fruit is a very tender, it's a very soft, it has a very soft skin, so it has to be very carefully just plucked, and that's why 10,000 is a huge number of apple I have picked, I have collected. Cherish in my hand, because when you have cherishing means he has been very happy to handle all these apples. Happily he has collected them. So these huge number of apples, left down and not let fall. Here already I told he has to be very careful. When one has to pluck the apples, they have very tender and very soft skin, and you have to be very careful, not let them fall. You have to collect them, everyone touch, but not let them fall. You have to be very careful, and I had been very careful, not let them fall, not let them strike the ground. Why? In next stanza he says, for all that struck the earth to no matter if not bruised or spiked with stubble, as of no worth. Stubble went surely to be cedar apple heap, as of no worth. Why? He should not let them fall. He should be very careful about them. He should handle them very carefully. Already told you, the apple have very soft skin. That struck the earth. If they fell on the ground, then what happened? No matter if not bruised. Okay, they fall on the ground and they not get bruised, means they don't get any type of a scratch or injury mark, what you call. Let's suppose they don't get bruised or scratched or anything, or spiked with stubble, or they are not pierced with the sharp point of stubble. Stubble means the remaining, once we cut the cereals from the land, from the earth, from the field, and the remaining portion is very sticking upwards, that's called the stubble. And once an apple falls on the ground and there is a stubble, there is the remaining portion of that cereal, that crop, and that pierces the apple. He says, well, if that is not spiked, that is not pierced with that any sharp point of the stubble, or that's not bruised, but went surely to be cedar apple heap, still it has to go to the cedar apple heap. Still it has to be kept in a heap. For cedar means we have to extract juice and jam from it. We can't sell it raw in the market. We can't send it somewhere. We have to keep it in a heap, and later on we have to extract that. So that's called cedar. We have to extract it from the cedar. Cedar means it has surely to be gone, though it is not bruised. Though it's not bruised, though it's not scratched, though it's not injured, as of no worth, because it is of no worth. Means, in other words, you have to be very careful when you, in one way, we have to be very careful when we pluck apple. We have to collect them very carefully. We have to put them in the barrel and later on in the bigger bin, and we can't let them fall. In other words, when we are trying very hard to achieve our desires and dreams and whatever we have dreamed to do, And we have to be very careful about that. We can't let them go waste or anything like that. Just like the apple, who on falling, though we extract the cider, though we extract juice and jams from it, but it's of no worth. In other words, that is collected in a heap, that is not put in a bin or any other box. Okay, this sofa. One can see what will trouble this sleep of mine. What will trouble the sleep of mine, whatever sleep it is. Were he not gone, the woodchuck could say, whether it is like his long sleep. Well, now the poet is in a fix. He is not in a position to distinguish this sleep. Whether it's a long sleep like the sleep of a woodchuck. Woodchuck is a rodent, a type of a rodent that goes for hibernation, that hibernates for longer sleep, that sleeps in the winter. It is, he says, it is the woodchuck he can differentiate. He can say whether it is my sleep, that I am being overpowered by sleep, whether it is that long sleep, hibernation, or whether it's a whether it is that long sleep as I describe it's coming on, or just some human sleep. The human sleep, everybody human being asleep, they feel sleepy, and so whether it is a death or it's a common sleep, just that sleep which we experience day to day. It is only the woodchuck who has experienced the longer sleep, who has experienced the hibernation. So this is all about the poem that has been described over here. This is very beautiful, this is extremely beautiful, very important from the examination point. We have to go through it, and we have to, with this I conclude this poem. Okay, Khuda Hafiz.